In previous videos, we've discussed Rubinstein's Immortal and the Peruvian Immortal. So now I want to show you the original Immortal game from 1851, played in London. Adolf Anderssen as white against Lionel Kieseritzky. And Anderssen kicks off with e4. And after e5, we have the King's Gambit, which was a popular opening once upon a time. Here, black accepts the gambit with e takes f4, and after bishop c4, he gives a check, and king f1, and now black goes for the so-called Brian counter gambit. The point of this b5 move is to drive the bishop away from the more dangerous a2 g8 diagonal, and also gaining a tempo so that the bishop on c8 can now easily get out. White accepts the counter gambit with bishop takes b5, and black develops a piece, and white develops a piece with tempo now by attacking the queen, and queen goes to h6, queen h5 was another option, but black wants to protect the pawn on f4. Here Anderssen played d3, although d4 was a stronger move because it is risky for black to take the pawn on e4. But after d3, black didn't find the best move at all. He played knight h5, which is a mistake, and he had several stronger moves, like, for example, bishop c5, and after d4, bishop b6. His bishop is out, and he also could have played a move like g5, just protecting a little bit better the pawn on f4, and finally he could have played the move knight c6, just a developing move. The problem with knight h5 is that it's breaking one of the opening principles, which states don't move the same piece twice unless you have to, and he's not developing anything. There is a saying in chess that a knight on the rim is dim. Anderssen actually also puts a knight on the rim, and this is also not a good move, knight h4. He had a stronger continuation with the move rook g1, the idea being to push the g pawn forward, since the f4 pawn is pinned, because you have the bishop on c1 and the queen on h6, so then you can't take en passant without losing the queen, so that would be a strong plan for white. And after, let's say, queen b6 to get out of the pin, then simply another developing move, protecting the bishop on b5. So black put a knight on the rim, and white put a knight on the rim. Neither move was good. And after queen g5, knight f5, a better move here would have been g6, but Kieseritzky played c6. After c6, attacking the bishop on b5, how should white respond? There are some options, and modern-day chess engines don't like the move that Anderssen played, which was g4, and we'll look at that one in a moment. What other options are there? Bishop c4 is not a good move after d5, gaining a tempo, attacking the bishop, and you can't take the pawn because then the knight on f5 is hanging, so bishop c4, not a good move. The computers recommend bishop a4, and then after g6, there is this line knight g3. Now the pawn on f4 is pinned, which means you can't take the knight like that without losing your queen. So the line goes instead knight takes g3, h takes g3, queen takes, knight c3. The knight is coming to e2, and then either the knight or the bishop can then take the pawn on f4. That is the threat, and this is considered better for white. Now if we rewind a little bit and go back to the actual game, after c6, Then Anderssen played g4. Kieseritzky now plays the move knight f6. And this is where Anderssen sacrifices his bishop on b5 with the move rook g1. Kieseritzky takes the bishop, which is a mistake. And the correct continuation here was h5 actually. And after h4, queen g6, g5, knight g4, black is doing fine. But back to the game, after rook g1, black did in fact take the bishop, and that is a mistake. Now comes h4, queen has to go to g6, and after h5, queen g5, queen f3. The threat here is to take on f4 with the bishop, which would trap the queen. So how should black respond to that? There is a line that goes bishop b7, which is quite interesting. After bishop takes f4, there is the move knight takes g4. And here, if white were to play, for example, rook takes g4, which is a mistake, then black has the move queen takes f5, exploiting the fact that the e4 pawn is pinned. So instead here, white should just take the queen simply, allow the fork on h2, and then just recapture the knight, and then white is winning here. Now, Kieseritzky didn't play bishop b7. Instead, he played here after queen f3, the move knight g8. And now, notice how black only has his queen out, where white has his queen out. He has a beautiful knight on f5. The bishop on c1 is threatening to come out. The rook on g1 is active, and the pawns are advanced as well. So this is a sign that things have not gone well or are not going right for black at the moment. So here white does take the pawn, of course, getting the bishop out with tempo. The queen has to go away. And now simply another developing move, knight c3. So white has 3 minor pieces out, and only now will one black minor piece come out with bishop c5. And this is where things start to get really interesting. According to Stockfish, then the strongest move is d4, and after bishop f8, the plan is bishop e5, the queen has to go away, and now you can take on g7, and with the winning position here. Anderssen didn't play d4, and maybe luckily so, because and then it wouldn't have been the Immortal Game, it would have been something completely different. He plays the move knight d5, which attacks the queen, but also is aiming for the c7 square, as you can see. So here, black plays the move queen b2, and here we'll see the start of the so-called immortal sacrifice. So this is where things start to really heat up. But before we go to that, the strongest move according to the engines is rook e1, and after bishop takes g1, there is knight d6 with a completely winning position. The king could go to d8 or f8. If it goes to f8, then the move bishop e5, as you can see, is a simultaneous attack. So we're attacking the queen here, but we're also threatening mate on f7, so that's a huge problem for black that can't really be met with properly. And after, let's see, king d8, then there is this clever move e5, which is cutting off the black queen so that the black queen can't get to the defense of the king, and black doesn't really have any good options here. For example, knight e7, then there is knight takes f7, king e8, knight back to d6 check, and here bishop g5 threatening bishop takes e7, which would be checkmate, and if rook e8, then there is knight f7 checkmate. So there are a lot of lines like this that are always in white's favor because he was winning. And Let's see, what else did we have? Yeah, knight h6, then there is bishop g5 check, and after f6 you could go all out with queen takes f6, pawn takes, and bishop takes f6 checkmate. So these are just some lines that could have happened after. In this position, had Anderssen played rook e1. He instead played a move that the computer doesn't like, but it is quite fancy. It is the move bishop d6, and as you can see, the rook on a1 is hanging with check, and also the rook on g1 is hanging. And Kieseritzky decided to go for the rook on g1, which was the lesser option. A better choice in a basically lost position was to take the rook on a1 with check, and after king e2, then if you take the rook on g1 like this, then there is knight takes g7 check, king d8, and bishop c7 mate. But an option that black missed was queen b2, just keeping an eye on the g7 square. And after king d2 to protect the c2 pawn that was hanging, bishop takes g1. White is still winning with the move e5, and for example, after bishop b7, then there is knight takes g7 check, and here queen takes f7 is winning because the queen and the three white minor pieces are too strong. White is, for example, threatening queen e8 checkmate here. There is just not much black can do here. After bishop e3, you shouldn't take with the king because there are some annoying checks after queen c1. So instead there is knight takes e3, and white is just winning here. Alright, so after bishop d6, we looked at what happens after queen takes a1, which was a better try than what happened in the game. In the game, black took the rook on g1, and now clever move e5, which has the aim of cutting off the black queen from the defenses. So now the queen on b2 is not protecting the g7 square anymore. But as you can see, this is allowing the other rook to be taken, and even with check. So this is a double rook sacrifice. And black did in fact take the rook on a1 like this, queen takes a1. And after king e2, black has won both of the rooks, but he is lost. And he played knight a6, but for example, if he plays bishop b7, then there is knight takes g7, king d8, queen takes f7, and now we are threatening, for example, queen e8 checkmate. So what should black do to stop that? For example, if he plays knight h6, then there is knight e6, and if you take that, then there is queen e7 check, and then queen c7 checkmate. And what else could you do? There's not much else for black to do after queen takes f7, knight h6, knight e6, and for example, if you play king c8, then there is a checkmate like this. White just has too many attacking pieces. He didn't need his rooks. His other pieces were just so active. So after, if we'll go back to this position after queen takes a1 check, Anderssen played king e2, and we looked at what happens after bishop b7. If he tries bishop a6, then there is knight c7 check, king d8, and simply knight takes a6, and you can't recapture that knight because of queen takes a8. So this is simply a winning position for white here as well. After the move king e2, black played the move knight a6, and now we'll see why e5 was such a clever move, cutting off the black queen, because now there is a spectacular finish after sacrificing both his rooks, he now plays knight takes g7 check, and king d8 was the only move. And now, how does white finish the game with yet another sacrifice? Maybe you want to pause the video for a moment while you find it, or maybe you've already seen it. The move is queen f6, sacrificing the queen as well, and black can only accept this because his king has nowhere to go, and knight e7 doesn't work either, so knight takes queen, and then the final move of the game, bishop e7, and Anderssen's contemporaries were so impressed with this game, and rightfully so, that they called it the Immortal Game, and that name lives to this day. I hope you enjoyed watching this game as much as I enjoyed showing it to you. See you in the next video. Until then, take care.